Hello, everybody. Dr. Ricky T here. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, September 4th. Let me do a little tech moment and go over to Instagram. I know I'm coming through Facebook right now. I'm going to go over to Instagram and go live on Instagram at the same time. What an amazing thing to be able to go live in two different spaces at the same time. Okay, I think we're live. I'm going to check with Justin, our amazing, where she's doing thumbs up. We are live in both places. All right, actually three places. Instagram, Rick Chemlin's Bigger Game page on Facebook, and a YouTube channel. So there you go. In case you're wondering, can I speak to more people at the same time? You bet. There's technology out there, and this one is called StreamYard. If you're interested in learning about it, it's an amazing technology to be able to speak to many, many, many people across multiple platforms. So there's your tech talk with Rick today. All right, let me take a big deep breath. Happy Wednesday. I'm looking very casual. Just came in from my morning walk I'm in Palm Springs where we live. Today is the 4th. It's going to be about 115 degrees today, and it's already hot. So I'm a little casual today. So hope that's okay. So I just wanted to, every morning when I go for a walk, I kind of go, okay, what's up? What's going on? What's going on inside of me? What's going on inside my clients? I start to assimilate. And I bet many of you do that, right? You sort of evaluate and assimilate and contemplate. Oh, there's a poem. Life, right? Like what's going on? What's going on in my life? How am I doing? How's my relationship life? How's my, how do I feel about it all? Classic sort of internal review, right? Every morning, I bet many of you do that. And many of you are really good meditators, and you sort of calm it down by having a morning meditation or a morning visualization. So what I'm getting to here is the morning reflection time, right? So this morning I was reflecting on some clients and what's going on in their lives. I work with about 24 people in a year-long container called Produce You. It's basically helping them play their bigger game. There it is. There's the brand on the wall, right? That's the book cover that I wrote about 8 years ago now, and I dare say has had a good run and continues to have a good run. So be on the lookout, by the way, for things around bigger game in terms of a workshop and things that are coming that are in the hopper of creativity. Some of it lives over there. I'm a fan of flip charts. I love to create ideas and then get them into the world. But let me go back to the topic at hand. Some clients were asking me some questions this morning, and I was reflecting on perspectives versus paradigms, because somebody was asking about, how do you change a perspective? What is a perspective? And it's not new news for those of you that hang out in my world and you're in the life coaching space or the leadership development space, which I imagine you are. Perspectives create your reality, right? How I see something is how I experience something. How I look at the world is how I experience the world. I can see the world as friendly. I can see the world as scary. I can see the world as amazing. I can see the world as crazy, right? It's the lens in which I look through, right? Using glasses as the metaphor, is the reality that I will experience, right? And that's why it's such a powerful tool for coaching and teaching and training, to help people realize when they're in a space of whatever, that they realize, to remind them they're in a perspective about something. We're always in a perspective about something, right? We're in a perspective about the politics of our country right now. I'm not going to go down that path, but it's perspectives, right? But the thing that also hit me this morning is the distinction between a perspective and a paradigm, right? A paradigm. Now, I'm remiss. I did not go online and look up the definition. Okay, so bear with me. If you're a definition person, you might want to go check this out. Actually, let me pause for 1 second. If you're on Facebook and you're watching, feel free to write a comment in here and say hello. Sometimes I like to, the interactive moment with people. And if you're on Instagram, feel free to say hello, say that you're watching. And Jocelyn, our amazing co-creator of this work that we do in the world, will let me know that you're watching over there, because there's a technology moment where she has to let me know that you're watching in Instagram. So, okay, that was a tech how to be connected moment with all of you. Let me take a big deep breath. Why don't we all take a big deep breath to slow this all down? So, paradigm versus perspective. Um, for me, here's the distinction. Perspectives are generally related to the day-to-day stuff. I have a perspective about um, a situation that's going on in my daily life. I have a perspective about what my government is doing. I have a perspective, right? And my perspective can change. I can choose to make a different choice, if you will. And perspective choosing, by the way, is a huge life skill, right? To be able to look at something differently and be open to changing how I look at it, right? Because I know you probably know this, but what we do as people, humans, we will go collect evidence for the perspective we're in, right? So then we get to be right. We get to be right. Get to be right. This is what I believe. I will go find the evidence to validate my perspective, because we can find data, we can find anything that validates the perspective we're in. And that's just an interesting thing to always consider, right? And this is, again, pretty obvious for many of you who are watching this later. But the distinction I wanted to offer today is a paradigm. The paradigm, for me, a paradigm is a way of going through life. Like, it's a bigger, sort of a meta view. It's a bigger way to, how do I view life? How do I view myself in this bigger arc of this thing called my life? What's the paradigm I'm living from, not the perspective I'm having about a certain situation? Does that make sense? It's sort of like a bigger, it has a bigger frame to it, right? Just to use an example of that, Bigger Game, the philosophy, the methodology, the book that I wrote, right? That's a paradigm to live from. I had a colleague this morning send me a video about how she's she's read the book, and I've supported her in playing a bigger game a bit, and she's realizing that way of thinking, that paradigm of quote unquote the language of playing a bigger game, is actually expanding her consciousness, expanding her creativity, expanding her business. It's expanding because the language of playing a bigger game is a paradigm to come from, right? That's a way of looking at life. And that has a bigger scope to it, right? Now, of course, inside of that, again, the perspectives are the daily situations that I'm dancing with, right? The perspective I have about the technology that I'm using, the perspective I have about the coffee shop that I go to, like, it's all, that's right. And again, some of you know me, it's all made up. Those are all made up. And we have to remember that over and over and over and over again. Oh, yeah, I made up that perspective, right? And I have to catch it and go, hey, wait a minute, right? Because if I want to be more fluid, and I want to be more creative, and I want to be more open at the top, and I want to feel more in flow with life, perspectives and paradigms are the way to sort of be in flow, is to remember, oh, that's a perspective I'm in. I can still re-choose it, but to have a meta view moment and go, that's the perspective I'm in. So this is, again, not new news. This is very much out there in the personal growth space. This is very much out there in the leadership development space. But the thing I'm asking you to consider for yourself from this morning Rick riff on Wednesday is, what is the paradigm you're living from? That's core belief stuff. Like, what do you believe about yourself or life or the ability to create? Like, what is your core paradigm that you live from? And as an example, I'm going to use these as examples. I'm not proselytizing these as the right paradigms, but spiritual training or religious training or religious beliefs, For me, they live in the land of a paradigm. That's to come from a particular context of life. And people will grab onto that paradigm and that spiritual truth for them and say, that's the way I want to live. That's how I want to live my life. That's a beautiful example of how a paradigm designs your life. And I just want you to really consider that paradigms that we live from and are coming from are designing your life right now. Thus, The Bigger Game was a philosophy and a paradigm of a way to look at life generally as best as possible day to day, right? And then perspectives are the day to day. Let me look, how do I look at that? How do I want to look at that? But the paradigm is hopefully a broader, bigger context of this is how I want to live my life, right? Now, I'm going to use some personal examples here for a second. My dear sweet mom, who passed away a number of years ago, she wasn't even aware of this, right? She lived in a paradigm of, there were perspectives, right? She had perspectives about life. She had perspectives about her neighbors. She had perspectives about people. Of course, we all do. But she had a paradigm that she lived from that she wasn't even aware of. And it bounced between sort of a fear-based, life is really hard. I'm going to run out. It was a low-grade fever of a paradigm of, dare I say, fear. Now, I had lots of compassion for it. I understood where it came from. If you look at her history, right, there's a lot of family trauma and drama. I won't go into that story. It doesn't matter. But it fed that core belief. And, until her final breath, right, there was this low grade, right, worry, anxiety, and I would call her in her elderly years, and it would be you could feel it. So I had a lot of compassion for her. But that was a paradigm. And I would try to support her and how to look at things differently, and her fear about money. But there was a constant, and I think that's the thing about a paradigm. It becomes constant. It's sort of a way of being and thinking, and a belief system that, and she tried to counter it many times with positivity. And she loved Norman Vincent Peale, if you remember him. He was a minister way back when, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking back in the 70s, I think it was. So my mom would try to counter it with lots of support and perspective shifts. So I give her a lot of credit to change that sort of way of being, to kind of handle that. So there's the thing. I just invite you to consider, what is the, to really ponder this question today. What is the paradigm you're living from? And I think that's a morning reflection time. I think that's an end of the day. That's a, we're doing life all day long. I'm doing my work. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing, and then let me pause. This is why I think a coach is great to work with, is to really pull back and go, okay, what's really designing my life? What is really designing my life? Because your life is being designed by something. And in this case, in this conversation this morning, it's being designed by the perspective you're in, and from a bigger perspective or a wider perspective, the paradigm that you're coming from, right? That is deeply designing your life. And I don't think, dare I say, many or most people don't step out of that daily doing to actually go to the bigger, wider meta view and go, okay, what is designing my life? What is really going on here? You got to go wide. You got to go meta, and go meta view, meta perspective, and go, okay, what's really going on here, right? What is designing this thing called my life? And with that said, one of the things that kind of started this morning is I'm a fan of this fabulous book. If you little reference moment, if you don't know Steven Pressfield, you must. He's written numerous books. One of my favorite is The War of Art: Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. Right? It's shorthand. It's got lots of little tiny paragraphs, really easy to read. You just pick it up, you open it up to a page. And the one that I opened up this morning, I just want to read you this, okay, to kind of end our time together this morning. And it, classic how the universe provides, right? Like, oh, what should I talk about today? And I was going to talk about paradigms and perspectives, and then all of a sudden, there's a very short chapter here, or a very short prose, or a, what do they call it when it's a few paragraphs? Let me call it that, a few paragraphs that I want to read to you, right? That kind of feed into what we're chatting about this morning. So this is called, you can't see this, and I'll make sure, resistance and fear. Resistance and fear. Okay, really good stuff. So here we go. Are you paralyzed with fear? That's a good sign. I'm going to read that again. Are you paralyzed with fear? That's a good sign. First of all, there's a perspective shift, right? Fear, bad, we need to get rid of it. He's offering a huge paradigm shift. That's a good sign. Fear is good. Like self-doubt, fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do. Remember our rule of thumb. The more scared we are of a work, I want to make sure I read this right. The more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. Resistance is experienced as fear. The degree of fear equates to the strength of resistance. Therefore, the more we feel, therefore, the more fear we feel about a specific enterprise, the more certain we can be that the enterprise is important to us and to the growth of our soul. That's why we feel so much resistance. If it meant nothing to us, there'd be no resistance. Have you ever watched Inside the Actor's Studio? The host, James Lipton, this is a TV show, by the way, James Lipton invariably asks his guests, what factors make you decide to take a particular role? The actor usually always answers, because I'm afraid of it. The professional tackles the project that will make him stretch. Let me say that again. The professional tackles the project that will make him stretch. He takes on the assignment that will bear him, oh my gosh, why am I having trouble reading this morning? I think it's glasses. He takes on the assignment that will bear him into uncharted waters, compel him to explore unconscious parts of self. I'm going to read that part again. Compels him to explore, or her, to explore unconscious parts of self. And isn't that what it's ultimately about, is to bring the unconscious to consciousness? Is he or she scared? Hell yes. He or she's petrified. Conversely, the professional turns down roles that he's done before. He's not afraid of them anymore. Why waste his time? So if you're paralyzed with fear, it's a good sign. It shows you what you have to do. Sir, can you repeat the emphasis? I'm just reading, you guys are right. Can you repeat the emphasis of the previous line? I'll just, let me try this line. I think Rocker, you actually had actually, let me make sure I'm getting you guys what you need here. Yeah. Kim Heischka. Hello, Kim Heischka. I'll just read this part again. The professional tackles the project that will make him stretch. He takes on the assignment that will bear him into uncharted waters, compel him or her to explore unconscious parts of self. That's the part I love. Looking into the unconscious part of ourselves. Is he or she scared? Hell yes, he's petrified. Conversely, the professional, and in this context, I want to make sure he's talking about professional actors, but I'm talking to you about professional coaches, to be a professional. Conversely, the professional turns down roles that he's done before. He's not afraid of them anymore. Why waste his time? So this is the actor. Many times we know these people that step into roles that are outside their domain, outside of their own perspective of what they're capable of, right? So if you're paralyzed with fear, it's a good sign. It shows you what you have to do. So there's the reading from The War of Art. I cannot recommend this book enough in terms of animating and activating and offering insights to the human condition, to the human mindset, to the inner life, right? You know, I love his term, you know, and win your inner creative battles, right? Fantastic book. So with that said, many of you know I do work in the world around, leadership development, team development, individual development, personal development, business development. Any word you throw in the word in front of the word development, I'm in the business of. So with that said, tomorrow I'm offering a free, it's called a coachathon, and I'm going to talk about upping your impact, right? From a mindset context, from a skill set context, and even from a technology context, right? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Jocelyn's going to put it here in the chat, right? You can register. It's a free call, and it is very much in line with playing a bigger game. I keep pointing to the wrong side because it's backwards on my camera, right? So feel free to join me there. Bring all your questions around, the inner life that you've got going on, about maybe why you don't, what do you want? Because here's what I know. And let me just go back to the class. 9 o'clock, September 5th, Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Register. It's in the link. It's ricktamlin.com/up-impact. Up-impact at the back end of ricktamlin.com. Okay, that's the link stuff. But let me go to my final thought on this whole sort of bigger game philosophy and ideology. And I want to do a shout out to my co-creator of Bigger Game, Laura Whitworth, one of the founders of the Coaches Training Institute. I always want to make sure I do a shout out to her. She and I aligned very much on the philosophy on, if you're up to something bigger than you know how to do, you will grow into it. You will expand. You will grow. You will become more creative, because we're always wanting to become something at the next level, like expressing ourselves at the next level, right? I'm a fan of that concept, and I'm going to do that until I can't, right? I'm going to turn 66 this year, and I got work to do, right? I got stuff to create. I got another book in me. I got another workshop in me. I got another couple of years of, at least, with a group of 24 people who are up to cool stuff. Like I'm in that game, right? And it keeps designing me, and it keeps expanding me, and it keeps having me come up with new ideas. It's growing me. I'm in the paradigm if you will, bigger game. If I don't have something bigger than I know how to do almost all the time, every single day, and using the war of art as the context, if I don't have that, and I'm not on the edge of scared a little bit, sometimes more days than others, or sometimes I'm more scared than other days. If I don't have that going on, right, I'm not expanding, right? And I think we try to avoid that, instead of lean into that and go, this is what it looks like to expand. This is what it looks like to go to the next level, whatever that means for you. And just to link it to a universal principle, right? The universe is always expanding itself, right? We are part of the universe. We are one with the universe. We are one with all the particles. We are one with the space. We're connected to all of it. And since we are, and we're all connected to it, expansion is what's going on, right? There's some contraction going on, of course, in the universe and black holes, and I'm not going to get into all that. But in my study of some quantum physics, generally it's a state of expansion. And if we're not expanding our doing and our being and our thinking, right, what's the other choice? So join me tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, to be in that expansion conversation. What is next for you? I'll answer questions. It's more like a support call. Bring your questions. Do me a favor. Let's make a distinction. If you're going to join us, I'll talk about it tomorrow on the call. It's not about like which platform to use. Do I use Facebook? Do I use Instagram? And I have opinions on all of that. And Jocelyn on our team will be there, and she can answer some of those things. But I think we spend too much time worrying about that stuff, instead of like, here's a platform, I know how to use it, go forth, talk, do a live, get out there, speak, and do your thing, right? And right. So that's the sir, what are your views on the philosophy of old age and the radical fear that comes with growing old in the context of the fear of mortality? Wow, interesting. What a great question. Let me address that. Yeah, that comes with growing old in the context and the fear of mortality. Well, first of all, I think that's actually a faith issue, Rocker. I have no, I have moments. Okay, as I get older, I have moments of like, oh my God, I want to be here forever, right? I don't want this to end. I love this creative thing. I love this thing called life. I'm gonna, where I go to is I'm gonna miss stuff. Like someday I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna miss things. But I actually have an inner life that's pretty much like I'm not afraid of dying, right? You know what? I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but let me just offer. So I don't know if I want to share this. Yeah, I do. I'm going to share this. Um, so a number of years ago, I passed out. I passed out. I won't go into the reasons why. There was a reason why. It was a medical thing. But I was out for, I don't know, a minute on the ground, right? And my brother was there, and it was at a party. And I don't know what's true. I have no idea what's true, but I have to tell you, I literally saw the that whole concept of the white light, and I had that experience of pure love. And I remember thinking in that state, I don't know how much time went by. I had no concept of time. Time was gone. I had to choose to come back or not. And I wanted to stay. I actually had a moment of this is pure freedom and pure love. And it was one of those moments. You've read about them, right? Now I came right back, right? People woke me up. But I had that experience, and I don't know if that's that experience woke me up to, oh, I think there is something, there is another side to this game, and I'm not scared of it anymore, right? I certainly don't want to go. I don't need to, you know what I mean? It's like so I'm not I haven't studied the whole concept of mortality, but I know I'm not afraid of any of that. And I'll just miss people. I literally go to the relationship stuff. I will miss people. I will miss creativity. And Rocker, I don't know if this makes sense to you, but you've heard this, maybe this cute line, we're not aging, we're saging, right? And I think as we sage, we want to actually offer some wisdom, right? We start to become that. And I think in our culture, right or wrong, we the sage and the wisdom energy that comes with the sage archetype is getting lost a bit, right? I used to do a lot of work inside a major Fortune 100 company, and they had a brilliant structure where the retired people, people would retire, but they had so much wisdom in the people who retired, so they'd invite them back, and they would do town hall meetings, and people would ask a little bit of the story from the old time. You know what I mean? It was like, so they felt relevant, right? And I think, as we age, and I know myself, I'm confronted by this at times. I'm like, how do I remain relevant? How do I remain relevant? And I think how we remain relevant is to realize that we're saging and we have some stuff to offer. Whether anybody wants to hear it, I don't know. But I have a job to do, and I think I'll leave you with that. As a leader, quote unquote, a person who's decided I want to have an impact with my life, i.e., play a bigger game. That's my job. And that's my job until I stop, until I no longer can do it. Or I don't know, I'll do it typing. I have no idea. But I'm here to continue the impact game until I can't any longer, or until I'm, no longer in this physical plane. So I don't know if that helps, but that's what I know, because I've decided that's a job. That's the job I was given. I have no idea. Like that's my job. I wrote a book. I've been training for 35 or 40 years now in the personal and leadership development space. I don't know. I'm called to wake people up to take more responsibility and realize that they're creative geniuses and they get to have the life they want. That's my core message. You are completely capable of creating the life you want. There are circumstances. I don't mean to say there are not challenging circumstances, but what do we do with them? How do we view them? What's the paradigm I'm in with them is the bigger question all the time. So anyway, happy Wednesday, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Hope this has served. Thanks for listening. Recommend this book highly, The War of Art, and dare I not do a commercial for my own book. Go buy The Bigger Game, play your bigger game if you haven't already. And I'll hopefully see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, September 5th, on Thursday morning, 9 o'clock Pacific time. and more to come. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks for listening, and sending you all peace, ease, love, health, and wealth to you, your family, your organizations, your teams, your states, your country, and dare I say, our globe. And I know that we all have an impact with our thoughts related to that. So blessings, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bear with me as I do end the stream. I have to do it in a couple of places, so hang on here. There we go.